What's up guys, my name is Michael and today we're gonna go through Capture One again because it's a lot of fun. You know, yesterday I just took my bicycle and drove around town and actually ended up in the forest. And I took my X-T3 with me, put the 23 1.4 on, and by the way, I'm currently also filming on the 23 1.4. And first of all, I decided to go take some architecture shots or maybe some street photography or yeah, that kind of stuff. But then I went downtown and then I decided that I don't want that many people around. So I turned around, got into the forest and took some awesome shots, and the lighting was very beautiful actually. And so what I want to do today is I want to go through some of these images that I shot in the forest and show you my way of processing them. And actually I also want to show you how you can do black and white conversion in Capture One 11. Alright, so we are in Capture One, and as you can see I only have 7 images selected. Now I took around 50 or 100 images, I'm not quite sure right now, but I can check. So let's see. Yes, I have 107 images, but I don't want to see all of them. So I'm gonna set a filter, and we're now seeing my favorite shots. And it's not about how many pictures you take. It's about if these images can bring across the feeling of being in the forest. And I think these images actually can do that very good. Now, all of them are raw images and all of them are currently unedited. So what you can see right now is that maybe this one is a little bit too dark. So I'm gonna brighten the exposure. It's just a matter of taste. You know, maybe I would do it differently if I did it again. So I also enhanced the contrast a little bit, and I'm now gonna get the white balance a little bit warmer because that's more the way that I remember this situation and that I would really want it to look like. So I can now see that the color and the brightness is actually pretty nice. It's the way I want it, but I would like to reduce the highlights in the background a little further. So I'm going to use the high dynamic range tool to get these highlights in this area a little bit darker. And basically that's pretty much everything that needs to be done to this image. So I mean, gonna wait for the processing to finish. You see, it's pretty nice, it's clear, it has good sharpness. It has been shot at f1.4 by the way, and I'm already fine with that. So it was too dark and it was a little bit too cold in regards to white balance, but I mean, I could have made that better in camera, but you know, the way it happens sometimes, you just don't take your time to do that. Next shot, this one is pretty much fine straight out of camera. I mean, nothing I would need to do, and just to see the sharpness and the details. And I'm gonna go to 200% now because some of you might watch this video on their cell phone, and I think it can be difficult to judge image quality on a small screen. So that's why I'm sometimes zooming in a little bit more, then going back out again. So this is 100%. And just to see and just to show you the kind of sharpening that is applied here, I have a default value of 140, And I think it can be increased a little bit depending on your taste. But I think this the amount to around 200, 250 is also pretty fine. Let's go back out and play a little bit with the color balance tool. I really like the color balance tool, and what I like for these kind of shots is to get the shadows a little blue tint. So we're gonna make the shadows a little bit blue and the midtones go a little warmer. So let me show you what it looks like without the color balance adjustments. Now, everything I do is just a matter of taste, you know, there's no right and wrong right here, but I'm gonna give the image a little warmer white balance again. Let's see what it was shot with. 5300. We're gonna go to 5600. And let me see the histogram. Yes, we're gonna increase the exposure a little bit, maybe like that. And I'm pretty much fine with the image. Now let's have a look at the before and the after. It's just to give it some kind of moodiness, you know. I just like it if it's not looking too normal. It can have a little mystic touch. Now let's copy these settings and put them on the next image right here. You see, this image also benefits from this kind of little color balance adjustment. So let me see if we can do a little more in this one. Yeah, I like it like this. So basically, without the color balance and with the color balance, you see, like I like the separation, the shadows a little cooler and the highlights a little warmer. And before we go on, I want to show you another image. We're not going to go through all of them right now, but look at this image just to show you. I'm going to right click here. Come on. And you see, I cannot reset the adjustments. And it's a raw file. That is straight out of camera. I'm going to make it bigger for you guys. That is straight out of camera. And the lighting was so beautiful. We had some sunlight through the trees. We have this little spot of light hitting this area right here. And it's such a wonderful scene, you know, with this really wide aperture, 1.6. It's a beautiful shot, and there is nothing that can be improved here. I can try to place that look into the image, but now it doesn't appeal to me. Now, that's a really good example of that sometimes a picture can be already perfect. And I think all of us have to learn to let go sometimes. You know, if you have a beautiful image, don't break it. Don't make it look bad. It can be good straight out of camera, and it's hard to understand that sometimes your work or your effort in the post-production process is not necessary. And this is such a beautiful example. I don't want to touch anything because the color is so fresh. It's still warm, it's fresh, it's beautiful lighting. There's nothing that can be done to improve this image. And actually that happens every now and then. So what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna go back to this picture, and I want to show you how to do black and white conversion in Capture One 11. Now, I have Capture One Pro 11. It is also possible, of course, in Capture One Express, and it doesn't matter what kind of version you have, because the black and white conversion is not something that is restricted to one version or the other. So I do want to keep this edit that I have here. So what I want to do is right click and select clone variant or new variant. Now I'm going to do a new variant, which means give me a copy, a virtual copy of the image without any adjustments. So I have this one with my color balance adjustments, and I have this one without any adjustments. And by the way, this is also a beautiful image. I mean, it doesn't need any post-production, but I still like what I did. Okay, we're now going to do a black and white conversion, and what I would recommend is you see these tabs up here. Now if you right click and go to Add Tool tab, and then you select black and white, then you will get this tab here, which includes the basic tools that most of us need for a black and white conversion. Now the most important thing in there is of course the black and white tool. Now what you obviously need to do is enable black and white. So you basically get a equal mix of all your channels, which means that this is kind of the basic black and white, as basic as it can be. It's just like desaturating the image, but you can do so much more. Let me show you what the image looks like. I mean, we have a lot of green in here in the leaves, and we also have a lot of reds on the ground of the forest. So what I could do now is I could play with the red channel, and you can see that with this tool I can now darken everything that is red. And that's something completely different than just desaturating the image. So I can now really set the focus to where I want. So it's a really powerful tool if you have landscape images in which you want to emphasize the sky or maybe the grass or a tree or something like that. Now I can also do the same thing with green, and you can see that the leaves change. But what a lot of people don't know is that green almost every time consists a lot of yellow as well. So the yellow channel will also change. I mean, yellow is right in between red and green, so it will change both. And I would need to set a mask if I want to do that properly. But I really like the look of the darker red. So let's go back to the to the color image. And I mean, the color version is really beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's a good opportunity to show you how black and white conversion actually can work in Capture One. So what we're now gonna do next is we're gonna add some contrast, because black and white images, I mean, they work pretty well with high contrast. I mean, better than color images most of the times. And what I also want to do is I want to add a little vignette. So a vignette means that you can now darken or brighten the outer edges. So if I move it to the left, then the edges will be darkened. And if I move to the right, they will get brighter. So in order to focus the eye more on the center, it's a really nice tool. I also want to go in the high dynamic range tool and brighten up the shadows a little bit, because I like the contrast, but I don't want the shadows to be completely black. All right, so that's basically what I would like to do for this image. But there's one more really cool thing left, and that's grain. Now, Black and white images shot on film have always been famous for their grain. Now I can also add grain, of course, in a color image. That's not a problem. But for most people, grain is something they would rather see in a black and white image than in a color image. Now, and for that reason, I'm gonna zoom in all the way to 100% and go right here to where the leaves are, remove the browser with Command B, and now I wanna select harsh grain at first because it's the most visible grain, you see. Now that kind of grain is looking really natural, and I really like the look that it gives me. Let's zoom back out. You see, it's hard to tell right now, but in a print or maybe in a smaller resolution, that would look really nice. So you can play with it's 6 kind of different grain types. What I also really like is the silver rich, because it's a lot finer and not as harsh as the harsh grain. It's like the name says, and that would be my kind of standard grain. And I mean, you can really move these sliders up. I mean, if you want to have grain, then it should be visible, but you could also add just a really subtle grain that is not as visible as like you move that slider right here. So play with these 2 settings if you like to add grain to your black and white or color images, of course. So that's the way I like to process my black and white shots. One more thing I would like to tell you right now is just a kind of feature that's really nice. Now, I already showed you this image before, and I also have this image. And when I select both, they will be displayed next to each other. And now you can see that the contrast in the right image is stronger, and the left image has not enough contrast. So it's hard to tell if you edit them after each other to see if they really match their contrast. So what I can do now is I can have this side-by-side mode and still edit only the left image. So I'm gonna go into exposure and add contrast, and now I can tell whether these images will work together or not. So that's something that Lightroom doesn't give me, but it's kind of an important feature if you like to compare 2 images and make them work together. All right, so what have we learned today? Let's go again through these images. And by the way, I also really like this shot right here. I didn't show you that. What have we learned? I mean, I showed you how I processed these images. I showed you and I told you that sometimes images don't need any post-production, and we all, even also myself, we all have to learn sometimes to appreciate that an image came out of camera in a way that it's perfect, and we have to leave it alone. And that's something that is really difficult, and it's the same for me. I can't do that all of the time, but I'm trying to work on that. And I showed you about the color balance tool, how to tint the shadows, and we talked about black and white conversion. Okay, so nothing special today, just a little session just showing you what I did yesterday, and I still hope you find that interesting. Let me know if you want to see more on that content in the future. Let me tell me about your problems in your post-production process, and hopefully see you next time. Thanks for watching.